Hi, welcome to Talking Spaces. Once again, my name is Pepe Julian Onjima, but just call me Pepe. I'm your host tonight. It's good to be back. And tonight we will be discussing more pertinent issues. The Talking Spaces is a space where we convene under the Convening for Equality. We talk about the different issues that affect LGBTIQ persons. And for those of you who have been following, this has really been a space where we have dissected the impact of the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023. And today I have lovely guests with me. They will introduce themselves. We'll be talking about the recently published SRT report, which is the second volume of Eteka, Lyayita. This volume is titled Unwanted, Outlawed, and Illegal: The Cry of LGBTIQ plus Ugandans. The SRT is the safety and protection arm of the CFE, which is Convening for Equality. And what it does is it documents and responds to violations based on sexual orientation and gender identity or expression. The CFE, rather the SRT report volume 1 was produced last year in September, whereby it covered cases from January to September 2023. The volume 2 of Eteka Lyayita is looking at the period of September 2023 to April 2024. You will learn today from my guests that there's a huge difference. You will learn about the impacts. You will learn about the documentation processes. And you will understand that even if the law, the Anti-Homosexuality Act, was partially, probably 2% repealed, majority of it remains in place. And as much as we are meant, as much as we think that the law has been, removed or it's not being applied, you will find out from my guests today that that's not the case. Thank you and welcome to today. So I'll start off with Samantha. That's not my place, that's for you. You're most welcome, my guests. Please go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us what has made you smile today.
Interesting. Hi, everybody. Such an honor to be on these Talking Spaces. I enjoy listening to these spaces. I think, my name is Samantha Ainembabazi, and I'm the editor at Kuchu Times Media Group. I'm an artist. I'm a poet. I love writing. I love telling stories. And what has made me smile today? My face. I have a very beautiful face. My face makes me smile all the time. So, my face. Yeah, I'm vain like that, but it's all right. Also, I had brunch with someone I love. So yeah, I'm happy today.
Now you're making us smile as well. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, I'm Alex. I work with React. I'm not as many things as Samantha has said. I document human rights violations. I respond and document human rights violations with React to community members, LGBTQ persons. I'm happy to be on this talking space. This is our space as queer people. What has made me smile today? I just had a very nice meal, If you know, you know.
Inside joke.
Yeah. Love, food, all right.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm called Sean. I work with Ubuntu Land Justice Center, and Ubuntu is basically part of the SRT team. And yeah, we are in this documentation and responding business together with React and other stakeholders that make the SRT, and of course with the general larger LGBTI organizing and community. What has made me smile today? Alex took me to a very nice place.
This meal.
So yeah, it made me really happy.
All right, thank you so much for those introductions. So it's a place, a beautiful place that made you smile. It's food that made Alex smile, and it's love and your face that have made you smile. That's really awesome. What made me smile today? Yo, I can't quite remember because I've been like fighting the whole day with different people. My partner called me in the middle of one of negotiations with some people about this work, and they were pissing me off. And then when I hung up from talking to them, the person who called was my partner, and that made me smile. So
Must be nice.
it's absolutely nice. And you know this.
My branch date was banner, so it's really it's not a love thing.
It is still okay. Love can happen in take any shape. I want to just read a little bit about part of the executive summary that lists some of the things, and I'll take just this part. Enforcement of the Anti-Homosexuality Act. In the reporting period, the Uganda police, landlords, local councils, and family members are among the top violators of rights. The category of people, especially landlords, mobs, and local councils, were generally enforcing provisions of the AHA that required individuals to report cases of violations and not to allow tenants into their houses. In the last report, we saw 306 cases overall. That is a period of close to 9 months, I think. And we're seeing that for the period covering September, so the period between January to the period of August 2023, we had 306 cases ranging from evictions to physical assault to family, invasion of privacy, shelter, and so on. But this year, between September last year and April this year, we see 1,253. This is alarming. What went wrong? What is going wrong? When the government is saying that the law is not being implemented, what is happening? If the law is not being implemented, why are the cases on the rise? And also they had said landlords can now rent houses, people don't identify themselves, and so on. Why is it that landlords are still trending in being the key drivers of the worst impact of the Anti-Homosexuality Act? I want to start with Alex. Help us understand, help our listeners and those who are viewing us understand what is driving the increase in these cases.
Thank you, Pepe. This is really interesting because when you think about it, government saying they are not implementing, we are not supposed to have violations. Mm-hmm. But whether government says this or that, the numbers are telling. The last bit of the year, from September to the last bit of the year, we were going into the festive season. We had very many queer persons out there facing the questions of their families, because that is usually a family time in Uganda. And very many queer persons were facing the issues, their sexuality and their families. That was the spark of the increase, I believe, the very first increase. This is all other factors not considered. We are just looking at Christmas time and queer people going back to families and clashing. They're asking you, oh, where is your husband? Where is your wife? Where is this? We want children, and all the demands that they make. We go into the beginning of the year. The year started with a lot going on online, including a very big violation. A community member was almost killed. We had a whole homophobic sensation online. These are different things that have come right after the other. This is January, the beginning of January, and the family time is done. The family trauma that community has been through is not yet even healed, and we are having online outbursts of homophobia. What does this mean? Whoever logs onto Twitter, they are talking about homosexuals. Homosexuals are everywhere. They are thinking about homosexuals as they are walking home, and they feel like they could actually beat a homosexual and get away with it. I think there has been a lot of hysteria, a lot of talk about homosexuality. We were talking earlier, and you mentioned that homosexuality has not stopped being part of the top 3 trending topics on one of the social media platforms. I think there's high visibility. Then when we get to the point of the law, amidst that time, a lot happened, including the denial of registration of SMAG. That alone puts the conversation of homosexuality back in the faces of people. This is the time we were having politicians using homosexuals as excuses, as the scapegoats. This is the time when court said, you know what, this law is going to stay. We shall remove what the donors want us to remove, but the law is going to stay. The person sitting at home is understanding, we can beat these people, we can chase them, we can kick them out of our families. I think those have been the major causes of the increase.
And while, just a second, while we are at that, and any of you can answer this, the numbers also, as telling as they are, this time round indicates that gay men or MSM were the highest at risk. Although I'm aware that most cases, and maybe we'll get to the nitty-gritties of that, but just as we're talking about the drivers, like what has driven gay men to be most at risk within this period of time. And yet, we know that a lot of responses have also gone towards transgender persons. We can pack it. Samantha, you had to say something about the drivers, the key drivers of
it's just
increase.
Just to add on to what Alex was saying, and to look into, so the government says the law is not working, but it's sort of like how in Uganda we have 2 courts. We have the court and then koti y'abantu, right? And so koti y'abantu is fueled by what people say,
And by the way, feel free to switch language. It's best for you.
So for you to come and say, oh, the law is not working, it kind of looks like a wink situation. It's giving like, the law is not working, and then you're like, wink, wink, or like,
not being implemented.
or power, or it's like over to you. For us, our hands are tied because of maybe we signed some human rights things and whatnot, but you Muntu one see this has, so power. So over, we are, we are working together. And that just goes, because also the cases that we can hold accountable are figuring out how to not be, I don't know how to explain. For example, if I'm arrested at a police station, I can go and say I was arrested at Chira Road. But if 5 border men were chasing me from random places, and then they beat me up, who beat me up? Who do I report? Who do I hold accountable? I feel like there's a lot of vigilante in the community because it is difficult to even like hold these people accountable. It's hard to find somebody. You can say, oh, chased me from your house because of maybe say homosexuality. And then you come back and say, no, I wanted my house. I want to use my house. There's somebody who was evicted. Then when I went and asked, and I'm like, no, my siblings coming back from the US and they want to use the house, and so I want my house. Is it a crime? It's my house. And it made sense. But that wasn't the point. So it's easier to have these attitude issues. But also, even if you come and tell me that I don't have medicine when I go to Mulago because of a certain group, I am bound to feel that fire in me to do something about it. We saw how every time they'd say, so, and these taxes and this thing, said no, homosexuals are paying those of Spire and Agatha to come out and lie. So I'll be more upset about it. And as Pepe was asking his question, I think for me, my mind went to the fragility of the male ego and patriarchy, is why I think the cases of MSM are very high. Because everything I feel is rooted in patriarchy, misogyny, and just how fragile masculinity is as a thing. And that's a thing. Somebody was saying that there's masculinity and then there's no masculinity. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. And so if you are...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it a masculinity or zero?
Zero. And so the existence of a group of people that do not conform to what you consider masculinity to be is a threat. I don't know why masculinity... It's actually very interesting. For people that are pretend to be very powerful, it's too fragile. Like any small thing. A man will wear a lip balm and oh my God, you're affecting me. And I'm like, it can be just because I've worn lip balm. So the emblem of masculinity is chapped lips. Okay. So I feel like the whole reason why, in my opinion, is the male ego is so fragile. Yeah.
Okay. Sean, any additions, anything to add to that? As part of the documentation, I'm happy that this the gay and MSM statistics have been captured because usually you'll find that they are not captured in this sense. We'll hear about it, but you'll not actually record it because either people do not want you to record their cases or they won't, even none of us will go to their quote unquote rescue. So they've been like those low numbers of reporting that, and yet I think since just the talk, since 2022, even before the law, you could hear blackmail of gay men. So much. But then it was underreported. So it would be hearsay, we commiserate in groups and whatever, and then that is it. So for me, I'm happy to see it here, but what has driven it? Or what has even driven this time gay men to actually report the cases?
So I think what Samantha has just mentioned, there's that societal shock of how can you be a man and decide to be this? Yeah. And that sense of threatening the family structure of you're a man who is wasting yourself to go become gay. And I think that has exposed many gay men to even just neighbors attacking you because they are aware that you're living together, because one, you're not free, you're not just relatives. Yeah. But then I also think there's been a lot of more awareness within the gay men circles and spaces, just because, like you've said, since 2022, we've been seeing these cases around gay men on the increase, people being attacked from Grindr, which are still happening, yeah. But this time is that people have more, I think, more sense of security within the support systems that are available, and knowing that I can report my case and. And I think people also learning what are happening in other countries. In Kenya, they took a case to court. And I think this is also giving people hype to be like, oh, this is what my story can actually lead to. So for me, it's a question of them being an easier target in terms of the current conversation of family and, threatening the family and you get it. But then also the sensitization that has been done around the gay men spaces, because there's a lot of conversations that have gone on around people on Grindr, and also they're not living Grindr, so they keep exposing. But
also Grindr is our thing.
Exactly. So it is that same thing of this is the only safe space we have. What is someone
where are we
supposed to
going
do,
to
yeah?
go if not
So
this?
someone is like, let me try my luck. If I get into trouble, oh shit. If I don't, well and good. So it's, and then the question about why numbers of trans people have not, yet the response mostly has been going to trans people. I think it's also the reporting culture. As trans people, we find our issues very sensitive, and in a time where it is I don't know how to say this, but it's even organizations doing the documentation. How much data do we get from trans-led organizations? Yeah, so it's a question of the work is being done, but how do we visibilize this work from those doing it? So it also goes back to a question of how do we get more trans-led organizations to actually adopt and so provide this data.
Okay, I think those are really useful submissions that you've given, and I hope that our listeners and viewers are able to reach out to us with whatever resources they have, and maybe ideas of how best to support trans-led organizations or trans people, to encourage them to report some more of their cases. And I want to follow that up with a legal question. All these cases, has there been any legal redress? What are we doing to address maybe a couple of these cases, or even all the cases? What are we doing? Yes, the AHA is flying to the Supreme Court, but violations are happening everywhere across the country. Where can someone who is violated, let's say in Moroto, or in Ntoroko, where do they get help from? Any legal support from? And also, what are those legal, things that are available for people to tap into to feel safer?
I think just the nature of this documentation itself should give us a good tool to run with to see what legal action can we take for some of these perpetrators. Most of them are individuals. Most of them are people we can actually take on legal action. But the challenge with that is getting someone to actually come and say, I'm willing for my case to be the one to be, I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb for this community. And one of the things that I've been encouraging people since the 2% that we got from court is telling people, you're being evicted. Can we take on your landlord for evicting you if you're sure you're being evicted for being queer? And I think this is one of the conversations we should be having as a community. What is this documentation going to help us to do? And at Ubuntu, what we're doing is seeing how do we use it beyond just having statistics flying out, out there into the internet and into the world, but how do we actually use this data and statistics to protect our communities? So for me, my suggestion would be, one, let's take this report and see what are those issues that we can actually challenge people on. If it is evictions, if it is family rejections and family neglect, can we actually think of taking these things on? And I think that would set a precedent for people to also, for some sort of fear. We are Ugandans, we fear repercussions. Once we know banobo bakwatako bajja kocha, that will also maybe send some sort of communication towards the general public that, one, we have rights, even the laws in place still protect us. And then secondly, we've seen Zex. We've seen if you know, you know. Yes. Zex. But we've seen some politicians, continuously use homosexuals and the LGBTI conversation to scapegoat us and to, and shun responsibility and accountability. How about we start holding this? Because there is a law that talks about promotion. I don't know who has done more promotion than the anti-gender and anti-rights people and politicians. So for the last 3 years, they have done so much advocacy and because there's nowhere in this country where they don't know the rainbow right now.
Yeah.
Just because some fool thought it is so important to go and sensitize people about the rainbow being a symbol for LGBT people. Yeah. So how about we also
parliamentary session?
exactly. So how about we also take on some of these people, like use these laws against them. And the question about where do people get support? There's really support. I know it is not as exhaustive as people want it to be. Unfortunately, most of the support that we need as queer people is financial, which is in most times and most cases limited. But for legal support, guys, there is really support. If you are really, 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 really also the things about taking legal action, it has a lot of things that comes with it, and I understand why people are skeptical too. But if we could get a few courageous people that allow us to use their stories or their experiences in such a way to do advocacy in terms of strategic litigation, or even just seeing how we can have conversations around policy change with like the policy review committees. Like how do we have these conversations beyond our own spaces to spaces that actually matter? And if I think that is where the support is. We have support, but we just need to show up and really request for it. Yeah.
Alex and Samantha, what other support mechanisms exist to help victims to turn them into survivors and resilient people?
If to start, I think one thing we need to actually do as a community is promote the culture of documentation. Queer people out there need to know that when I'm being evicted, I should actually try through whichever means to get an eviction notice.
But what if I rented my car, this car room for 200K and I didn't even get a contract?
You don't even get a receipt when you pay rent.
Yeah.
Well, that happens, but then there are instances where it is possible to get some. These police, they're coming to take you somewhere, make a recording or something that can be used, because we know if the team, this is being documented so that it can be used. So the more we document as a community, the stronger our advocacy.
I have a mwala to jump for my safety. When am I going to get a chance to turn on a recorder? Say, you what? I'm running for my life.
Running from
from these guys. Or it could even be someone living in a tall apartment, and you have to go down the stairs. Like I feel like it's. I mean, I get you, but at the same time, I feel like it's such a tall order for me who's trying to run for my safety to do all those things. What will the alternative be?
It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Yeah.
The alternative, could I share?
Alternative or other ways, because I really want our audience to understand that there are other ways. So even if I'm running, because that's the only thing, fleeing is the only thing I know to do in my moment of fear, when I catch my breath and I've managed to escape, if I write my story, is it still valid? If I call someone and narrate my story, is it still valid? If I make my post, because that's the only thing I can do at that moment, is it valid? Yeah.
I think people need to understand that documentation takes different forms, and that documentation does not mean do it now.
Okay.
Documentation is about, do you have the evidence of what you're saying that has happened, that actually happened to you? And evidence is in different forms. It can be an eviction letter, like Alex was saying. It can be a police bond form, but it can also be your story. So what I advise people, the support mechanisms within the community. At organizational level, we have crisis responders of different, we have reactors, we have community paralegals, we have peer educators, we have security focal persons. I don't know if that structure still works, but these are mechanisms within the community that at the grassroots within where we are staying that are affiliated to different organizations. Now, there are different organizations that do response. You have legal response, you have emergency support in terms of relocation support, you have shelter support, there is medical support, there is psychosocial support. So at the point when you get into an issue, is to first see who is the nearest person within your vicinity that you can call. And in that moment, if you're lucky enough to have taken a video, to have taken anything else, and like I've said, it does not have to be anything like that, even your story, because once we come to verifying is just following the trails of the story you've told. So it's not that we need something very tangible that without this your case cannot be supported. There are support mechanisms. It is just to understand where am I located and seeing which organizations operate within the locality that I'm located in. And also to try to, as an individual, do some initiative. Take some initiative to understand that we are in sort of a crisis time, and also try to be aware, because we've done a lot of communications around, safety and security. We've done a lot of awareness around the current context, around, what support is available. So it's just knowing what is your need in this moment. And even if you don't understand what you need, you will call me as Ubuntu, who provides maybe legal support. But if I don't have the support you need, I will refer you, or I'll link you to another service provider. So the support is right at the grassroots level. It's just to understand who is the most trusted. It may not even be someone who is actually any of these things, but even a trusted friend. A friend that that is you trust with your own secrets or your own story, that someone because there's also people you share your story with, and before you know it, it's on the internet before it reaches support mechanisms. So it's also to know what kind of people you have around you, but also taking personal initiative to understand during this crisis time. It is almost been 2 years. Of course, you should have heard of some emergency support mechanisms somewhere.
But also, just to add on, like what Pepe's question was, away from like legal support or like emergency support, when I look at the report, there's things like cyber harassment, things like mental health. I feel like as a community, I was actually asking somebody recently, I'm like, why is everybody doing digital training? What are people preparing for? That I don't know. And then you look at the report, and then you see why everybody is now involved in. Actually, if you do the linkage between the physical violence and online violence, there's a very big, somebody got my number from a group, somebody got my number from Grindr, somebody did ABCD. And so, as much as we've been trying to avoid it, we need to figure out a way to beef up our digital security as a community. And these resources are readily available on the organizations. I'm not at liberty to mention them because I've not sought consent to say them here. But Kuchu Times is able to maybe connect you to people that if you need support. Then I've seen cases of mental health. There's also people that offer mental health support. There's free mental health support services for people in the community, by the way. So that's also another form of support. But then also away from the things that we can provide. So recently, I'll just give you people a small lesson. So every time I thought the Luganda translation for homosexuality is Evisiaga. Yes. And now, so I learned from a person who is old, they're older, they're from are they boomers? The boomers generation, and they're on their journey to allyship. And so I recently found out that it's not actually that, it is Omukwano Gwebi Kukuju, which ideally would mean a different kind of love from the norm, this is how you usually dress, so you just put it on. So that even the connotation of that word is, And so just the connotation of what it means is the act of actually having sex. But if you look at it holistically and consider consenting people genuinely having relations with each other, it's not the word that we think it is. And so just going back into doing the work to figure out, first of all, our culture and so that you could do attitude change. Attitude change is so many. And that person was this whole time when I ndechigamba chinalinchiwuliranga chinesiwaza chinenge newe namanya chitege ekituufu wekiri nengamba so just gwanjawulo nti si kyabulijjo ne kyanjawulo ku kyemanyi. And so just people putting in the work to make this research, to also disseminate this information to communities, to people, because we've realized, the report says it, 95.4% vigilante groups, 4.6% is state actors. And so how do we now, these people, the vigilante groups, the anti-gender movement has gotten family, this family, that. That's the motion. How do we speak to these people through that that have been sort of turned over into like to believe that homosexuals are trying to ruin the very sacred and very amazing unit that is the family. So we look into things like religion, because these are tools that are being used. So how are we interpreting the texts of terror? And I've seen a lot of I've seen religion being now used positively through SRHR, and it could be a door. Because I've seen a lot of like meetings online about people using religious leaders to SRHR care, abortion, contraceptives and whatnot. So it could be like a way to kind of enter. I mean, the Kawaka run this year was about HIV/AIDS. HIV/AIDS is an SRHR issue. And so just to see how those kind of those doors into the spaces. I mean, art. Bobby Wine sang a song, Jennifer, that it worked. It did work. Kampala city changed, And so just to see how we can use the things that are available to us as a community to work within the community that we are, that we are within the general. Because we cannot exist in an echo chamber. It's not possible. We don't have the... It's expensive. Don't you need oxygen? Are you on oxygen?
Samantha, you tickle some thoughts in my mind about the 2% over 1% that were given by court. How do we make that work for us? And this is just to all of you. Like, how do we make that work when we have these alarming numbers? And you've already started going there.
Yes.
There's SRHR, because the health bit was there. There was a give, then there was a take somewhere, and sort of like saying that we are the drivers of HIV. It sort of make a case that homosexuals should not be allowed.
What I realized? I was reading something. They're such bad mathematicians. Yes. Because 13%. How do you focus on 13%? Guys, how is 13% higher than 87?
87.
Exactly.
The math is not mathing. That's such, and we ran with it. We're like, yes.
So alarmist.
Right, because I said when I was doing the math and I said, is it me?
There was someone who sat next to me who was asking, did they say 33 over 13? They got the... but then they were not sure what it was. Was it 30, 33, 83? Because the math was not math.
Because it's just bad governance. How do you make a law based off 13% of the population? That doesn't make any sense. 13%.
We're not even threatening, like...
Even if they were 13%. It's not even like a high number to... Those numbers could not even lead to lockdown. There's a time we had to reach a particular level for them to say, okay, now let's lock down. And there was... For me, I think, how can
maybe we should lock down heterosexuals. Like shut down.
I mean, how are they getting it from us, by the way? If
right? How?
Maybe they are more homosexuals than they are more homosexual than we are.
Yeah.
Should we still poaching?
Yeah.
For me, I've already said this. We are a community that thrives off technicality. So unfortunately, and we've learned how to, to use the and we've been reduced to that. So we stress out these health workers, go to the hospital, because they said you cannot go to the hospital. Let us go to the hospital.
Show face.
Show up. Classification. This is who I am, and this is what is wrong with me. And then let's start from there and see how because you're saying the law. Okay, the law is not working, but also the parts that are working, you've rectified them. So you're saying everybody has a right to healthcare. Let us go to the hospital. Let us use up the services that are available. Because I keep referencing to Kenya. Kenya's intersex community demanded, like they used to go to hospital and insist and say, no, I'm neither male nor female. And they forced civil society to push until there was an intersex bill in 2019. And Kenya now has an intersex bill. You cannot perform surgery on a child who has just been born in Kenya. It's illegal. You go to jail. Kenya, the recent election had an intersex member of parliament running openly saying this is intersex. And it's because of these things. They used to go to hospital, like demand and say, okay, where's the data? At this hospital, these and these people came and said they're neither this and that. So that the data was there. They keep on saying we don't have the data. Let's be the data. Let's allow ourselves to be counted.
But they're not collecting this data. How don't they have it?
And then they have the 13% conveniently.
Do you understand? Like where did they get the 13% when they don't have the data?
Yeah.
But also those figures changed long time ago.
From 13%.
They're not keeping up with
They're
us.
not keeping up with it.
Are they higher? Are they decreasing or increasing?
They're crazy. They're just crazy.
Any thoughts, Alex? How do we use the small wins that we have?
I think we are moving into a digital era. There is a lot of strength on social media, and it is something we can leverage. You realize that when I speak to queer persons out there, many of them tell me, "Zensiba mnyumba sifuluma." This is a trans person. They're going to be visible when they go out there. But when this person is in front of a keyboard, queer people unleash their brains out there. And I think that is something we need to build more, encourage more the uptake of social media, because queer people can get to say things that they're scared of standing right here and saying, behind the keyboard. I think if we are to strengthen our digital movement, it is going to give us a bigger voice. It will give us stronger bargaining power. Like, they are not going to say we are not here.
Promoting digital.
They're not going to say we are not here, yet there is a law about us, and hey, we are speaking back. Yeah. Yes, we are speaking back, but we need more voices to this, and that is something that is possible.
There are various recommendations from this report, close to 14. I'll read some out, or maybe read all of them. We have a recommendation to the Supreme Court, the President of Uganda, the Parliament of Uganda, the Minister of Internal Affairs and Uganda Police Force. We have recommendation to the DPP and courts of law, the Law Reform Commission, to the Uganda Human Rights Commission, the Equal Opportunities Commission. I'm shaking my head because there's a meeting happening today where key populations, there's a definition for that word, right? But the equal opportunities engagement that is happening, key populations has been listed as youth, persons with disability. Sean, what was the other one? Just a second. It's annoying. Older persons, women, and ethnic minorities.
They're the key to what?
They're the key population.
They are the key populations.
As per who's
So they are launching, I think, a mechanism to track inclusion of key populations in accessing public services. Public services in general, whether it's the market, the church, the ministries, the whatever. But these are the
and
key
they're including.
populations.
So what are they going to be?
So this was
everyone.
a bit disturbing for me. And I actually went back to our recommendations to the Equal Opportunities Commission, and I'm like, the door has already been closed. But maybe it's okay because key populations is really used in HIV interventions. So maybe LGBTQ plus persons can still go to the Equal Opportunities Commission. And
because if we have Ministry of Health that has documents that has a description of key populations as something different.
Exactly.
Then now we have Equal Opportunities Commission, another agent of government that has a different description. Let them go and clash.
And so the other recommendation is to the NGO Bureau, to civil society organizations, to development partners, the European Union, the World Bank, and to queer people. And Sean, I want to come back to what you've mentioned, that the different arms of government, there's no synergy. Yeah. And I think we can still use also these gaps that government has for us to continue advancing protection and safety of LGBTIQ persons, either in service, in seeking for services, in just purely existing and just being Ugandans. So I think it's important. If I can read maybe a little bit about the World Bank. We saw, yeah. Yeah. But the recommendations were, so World Bank is such a sore issue because
They're mitigating.
the mitigation measures that they came up with are rejected in totality by the queer community. And somehow that is not being respected or taken into account. But our recommendations to the World Bank were continue to pause all lending to Uganda to uphold the World Bank's own environmental and social framework. That's the ESF, that's the acronym that is thrown everywhere. Environmental and social framework, because that's where LGBT, vulnerable groups and so on are actually included for the pathway. It's sort of the pathway to protection. Do not engage in mitigation measures, but rather encourage Uganda to repeal the Anti-Homosexuality Act and support any economy committed to inclusion, to inclusive economic development. The second one is, when engaging with any member of the Ugandan government or operating in Uganda, ensure World Bank staff use accurate terminology to refer to LGBTIQ plus people, which is used in the World Bank's own policy documents, including the use of gender identity, sexual orientation, sexual and gender minorities, SOGI, and LGBT as the World Bank's own gender and SOGI safeguard documents and policies, say. The third one was to remain in close consultations with activists to keenly understand the many pervasive impacts of the Anti-Homosexuality Act and so on. So as we speak, I think there's something happening. I don't know if it's public, but there seem to be some ground gained by government in whatever they say they are going to use as mitigation measures. And I think this could also give us food for thought of, like, when we're engaging our international partners.
What are we saying?
What are we saying, and what is the impact of all that time that is spent? I'll pause.
I just feel like, for me, did you read What Happened with Agoa last week?
Yes.
That was I don't need to see what other people are doing. In the words of the person said, Uganda cannot tiptoe its way back.
Yes.
Uganda cannot tiptoe its way back into Agoa, because they sent, the son-in-law, it came back, it didn't work. Then another delegation went this month. That's when they said, we don't know what you think you're doing, but keeping on changing the people and not changing the message, or not changing, you know what we've asked you to do. If you're sending Pepe, then Samantha, then with the same thing of open the door, it's not working. Yeah. So maybe if we feel like they see the things that are happening, they see how other agencies are doing the thing, they see the sanctions. Why are they acting like?
And actually part of the information that, we share all this information with our partners. Government shares information with their partners who also support,
who are also our partners.
But also government receives these reports. With the first report, there was a lot of denial. And somehow when a delegation went to the States, when the door was not opened, they came back, and there was just this retaliation towards the report. But a few people insisted that everything that is in the report can be verified. And they did their own background checks and whatever, and then they were like, oh, they sampled a bit. And then they're like, oh, this could actually be happening. They didn't acknowledge that's happening, but they said it could be happening. We are yet to get backlash or feedback on this one, but they also have this report. And of course, a couple of people are really alarmed with the numbers, and some people are asking, you said you're not implementing this law. What is going on?
But so is it not illegal to have a law you're not implementing?
That is another gap we can take.
Is it not illegal?
We need to take that gap.
We really need to go as homosexuals and be like, government is not prosecuting us, and yet they put a law.
Because
Yes.
They have said
So
they
they either say they are or they remove the law.
that's what I'm asking. Is it not
Like, we
redundant?
really need to be also outrageous. I think we are tired of this goodness, this goody issues that we as a community, we don't want to be seen as a certain type of way. It's really high time that we do something radical in the sense of how do we actually hold these people accountable to their BAs?
Yeah, no, the cafeteria guys are still pressuring. You're still excited about the power eating the githeri in the parliamentary.
The Kenyans are still pushing us.
You're still excited.
There's fire.
You remember that they don't open live bullets on
Just
day
like-
3. It's on day 1.
On day one.
Like I've been saying, you go to parliament with grinder, and then just let it
go on and
go in, and then live tweet or live.
I will stay at home and write about the
No, like seriously, talking about the loopholes.
yeah.
We really need to be a critical thinking community. Like, what does the weakness of the government actually mean for us? When we have one government entity in bed with us saying, fronting us, we are at Uganda AIDS Commission, we are in everything that government is doing, but another section of the government is also saying, we don't know you people. So we really
Then another part of the government accused us of the Kenyan protests.
do you understand?
Yes.
So we really need to hold government to have a specific stand, which is which.
Yeah.
Are we illegal or are we not illegal?
Yeah.
And what does that actually mean in terms of those international support and what? Because this is always all the I was in one of those meetings of World Bank, and it was so annoying to see that they came with these mitigation not even recommendations. They came and said, this is what we are going to do. Just wait for proposal, for what? A call for proposals. And you start documenting violations in World Bank run programs.
I'm sorry, but mitigate, and for people who are listening to us, mitigate might sound like a very reduce. To reduce what?
To reduce the violations by the And you know what was most annoying? They said that government does not they want to give us legitimacy for us to work with them. So if we produce reports under them, they'll be more legitimate to the government.
Produce reports under
Never be us, please.
It's a wrap.
Do you understand?
It's a wrap. Like, thank you so much.
It was so. We were in that meeting with another person, and it was so disturbing that these people were relentless. Like it was.
Yeah.
We are coming to tell you the news. This is what we are going to do. A, B, C, D. And I tried to ask them. You imagine that the organizations you want to send to do this work are all on the list of the 25 organizations that government already has highlighted as chief promoters of this of homosexuality. You have a law now that specifically criminalizes all these organizations. They're the same organizations you want to take into your World Bank projects that are in these hate communities.
Under that same law.
Under the government. I was like, guys,
But also, why are they calling them consultation meetings if they were deliverance over speech meetings? Because this is just sharing their thoughts and witnesses.
I think it goes back to how some of these
could have been an
partners
email.
or people we call partners really look at us also as a community.
Tokenism.
Exactly, we're just a token in the bigger
Tokenism.
grand game of
Tokenism.
politics and financial.
They want to be the
BS,
ones that identify with what we are going through.
Do you understand? Instead of
But
actually,
do they really?
they really don't want to identify
They want to capitalize
on what
Yes,
we're going
yes,
to do.
tokenism.
Thank you.
Do you understand? Because if you come and say that we go to document, World Bank programs are mostly where? Do you have any World Bank programs as LGBT
I'm a
organization?
partner of World Bank. I feel attacked.
You're a partner of World Bank.
No, I'm not.
I was really disappointed to see that level of allyship that we're having hopes
Yeah.
Is that tone deaf?
is
Yeah.
that has that tall order of this is what you're going to do, fuck off.
Would have
and-
waited.
You
But also
understand?
next time they should send an email. That sounds like an email.
Unfortunately, we were told. And unfortunately, we'll have people who will apply and go do this work. And
Yes.
Okolera World Bank. It's
Yeah.
what's up?
I want us to wind down with a couple of recommendations. I told you there are about 14. We kind of went on and on about the World Bank. There is one to the Supreme Court, which is about immediately hear the appeal of the constitutionality of the Anti-Homosexuality Act and issue a decision. What we're talking about, tell us if there's a law or there's no
these
law.
things of dilly-dally.
So there's that one. I want to finish with the recommendation to the community.
Yeah.
Now I've come to community, it has disappeared. Someone's homophobia somewhere. The recommendation to the LGBTIQ plus persons in Uganda is only one. Share instances of violence and discrimination with like-minded non-government organizations and trusted allies so that such incidents can be documented and supported in demands for justice and or to access physical and mental health services if needed. So I hope the community out there has heard that there are people, there's help, there's support that goes beyond money. Because money they will give you today it will expire. Your mental
Also,
health
people
might
should not
stay.
just come looking for money support.
And people should really
Yeah.
say that louder. in your own voice.
like really people should not come just looking for support through like money support. There are so many forms of support that
Resources.
can help you remain resilient.
Yeah.
And money, I think, is a list of them.
Yeah.
Because money just exposes you even to more harm. And that just fills the narrative of they have money. Because if you're evicted from here and then your family randomly sees you shifting to another place. So also beyond, like, can we put some importance to our issues? To look beyond, the
Handouts.
the petty cash. You'll get 3 months rent and then what?
And then what? Yeah.
So the reporting of cases becomes important because it becomes a tool that we can use to just not support you with what we have in that, because these resources are also dwindling.
Yeah.
You will wake up and you will walk around through all the organizations. Nobody has emergency support as you know it. But think about what can emergency support look like beyond money? Is it social security?
Yeah.
Is it what are those other tangible
Are they
things?
digital skills that I can use to be
what are
safe
those other
online?
tangible things that can really help you to be resilient in the homophobic context, but also an economic fuck up?
Just pause on that. I just remembered some, and trigger warning to this. I remembered that in the report, we did not capture deaths. And that is
Again,
such
it's
a
also
capital-
because where were the deaths reported?
Yeah.
Are they verified dates? And also there's another thing before we close,
all right.
the issue of case verification. Why government right now can say these are actually cases that are happening, because like you've said, they have tested. And I want to assure everyone who is listening and people who do this work, these airtight cases become the only key we have to holding government accountable.
Yes.
Yeah, numbers.
If they verified and found that some of our cases are false, it goes back to the whole narrative of we are faking what? And this
Yes.
also has an impact on the kind of even support
Advocacy.
we get from allies. So one, there are cases that are forged that I will not deny.
Yeah.
That let me not say that we are very perfect.
But they are not in the report.
They are not in
We
the
don't
report.
take
That is what
Exactly.
verification does. Verification weeds out those, but then also verification really, really, really gives this work more weight. So even the people doing any sort of documentation and verification, and it does not have to be you moving from place to place. Just let's talk.
Let it coordinate.
We have ways we are doing these things. Let's have conversations. But documentation for now, I think, is the only tool we have as a community. If we are really going to get out of this shithole that we are in.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Unfortunately, it's a game of numbers. The donors have been looking for numbers, in terms of how many have you supported. It's now how many of us are going through this shit. And can we show face? And showing your case being documented does not mean that your identity is revealed. We have protections in place where your identity, if you're not safe being known, there are safety and security protections around individuals' identities. So let people feel the safety and the urge and why this is really important. Yeah.
All right. To wind up now, Kabisa, we've talked about the resources that are available for community to tap into. And for the community, please reach out to us on CFE, Kuchu Times, Ubuntu, React, on social media. Just follow these podcasts and drop us an inbox or a comment, and we'll be able to get back to you. What makes you happy about doing this work? And what would you say to put a smile on someone, on a victim of homophobia? To put a smile on their face, but also what puts a smile on your face when you're doing this work? And we wrap it up.
For me, what puts a smile on my face while doing this work is that sense of, if this person hadn't reached out to me, maybe they would not have had an alternative. And for me, those are the little successes and joys that we really celebrate mostly with Alex most times when we are together, and we're like, that's just that one person.
In those beautiful places.
Yes, that one person that, calls back and says, even if you have not called back, but just going to bed knowing that this person is experiencing safety, or whatever they were going through has stopped in that moment because of me, is really gratifying. And then what was the other?
What would you say to a victim?
Just call Sean.
All right.
Well, I think for me, even being able to say, what I usually say is, hey, I got you. I'm here for you. Like, for one to know, this is not about me looking for where money is going to come from, but me actually talking to you at that point, like, hey, first calm down. You know what? Now let's breathe. Should we talk about it now? And that, the telling, I'm here for you, is what puts a smile on somebody's face. And that puts a smile on my face as well.
For me, what puts a smile on my face when I do this work is just knowing I'm making a difference. Just knowing that there's a life out there that has changed because of me. And what I would tell a victim to make them smile is, I believe you. So many times even why people don't reach out with their cases is, but would they believe me? Would they, this looks like this, everybody's calling for help, or this doesn't, or maybe I was at the wrong place, and then it's just, so for me, I believe you, your story is valid, it is yours, and I believe you. So just to validate what somebody's going through, for me is very important to me, because I know what it feels like to go through something and people are just, anyway, we are here for, but just, I believe you,
So for our listeners out there going through something, Samantha believes you, we believe you, we got you, Alex got you. Just call Sean.